The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, September 26th, and today is National Johnny Appleseed Day, so go out and plant something. It's also National Situational Awareness Day, National Dumpling Day, National Compliance Officer Day, National Shamu the Whale Day, and everyone's favorite breakfast. It is also National Pancake Day. Just add some blueberries. But thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. Use that fancy little QR code right there in the top hand corner of your screen to see where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Rumble. Is that right? Oh, man, look at that. Look at that, man. We're getting it down over here. So shout out to everyone joining us in that space. But Gretchen, you want to kick it off this morning? You don't want to kick it off this morning? All right, I'm going to kick it off this morning. Okay. I wanted to be polite and offer the ladies to go first. Mm-hmm. It's all right.
Okay, that'd be a first for you. But.
Whatever. I'm always polite, Gretchen. Always polite. Whatever. Haters are going to hate because that's what haters do. Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you guys what. You guys are going to find this pretty interesting. But I'm not surprised by this at all. But apparently online marijuana shops make it easy for minors to buy weed, a study finds. That's right. Many online marijuana dispensaries do not enforce age limits on purchases, and they have other lax policies that enable minors to buy cannabis on the internet, according to a new study published on Monday in the Journal of American Medical Association Pediatrics. The research examined the age verification processes and other practices of 80 online dispensaries based in 32 states that sell marijuana to American customers. The study found that 18.8% of dispensaries, or nearly 1 in 5, required no formal age verification at any stage of the purchasing process, and that more than 80% accepted non-traceable payment methods like prepaid credit cards or cash, thus enabling youth to hide their transactions, the authors noted. Of the dispensaries studied, nearly 1/3 allowed delivery across state lines, and of those 95% offered delivery to states with marijuana laws different from the home state of the online dispensary. 5% of the dispensaries provided student discounts. Health officials have expressed concerns about the effects of marijuana use on the developing brain, particularly in the era of increased drug potency and widespread legalization. They make it sound like such a bad thing. According to a 2022 survey funded by the National Institute of Health, 6.3% of 12th graders reported using cannabis daily in 2021, as did 2.1% of 10th graders and 0.7% of 8th graders. About 1/3 of high school seniors had used marijuana at least once in 2021, along with 20% of 10th graders and 8.3% of 8th graders. The use of marijuana in these age groups fell during the pandemic. One theory is that young people had a harder time obtaining drugs, including marijuana, and consuming them outside supervision. And I don't buy that one personally. I'm not buying that one. I'm just willing to bet that they couldn't get enough students to participate in their survey for them to get these kind of results. But nonetheless, online marijuana sales and the ease of shipping would seem to make it easier for minors to access the drug, the study authors noted. And they say, in a quote, "It is imperative," they wrote in their conclusion, "to require strict age verification procedures prior to cannabis purchases online and to establish stringent surveillance of online marijuana dispensaries to protect youth." In the interim, they added, "Pediatricians and caregivers must be aware of the widespread availability of online dispensaries and the potential dissemination of marijuana to minors." Well, and well. What do you guys think about this? This is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News Hour. And apparently, online retailers are selling to minors. What do you guys think about this?
It's got to be some kind of internet security. I mean, there's got to be.
Hold on, Todd.
Why wouldn't they use it?
Hold on.
Who are these people? Who are these amazing online dispensaries shipping cannabis across state lines to people?
I don't know. I want to find out too who's shipping weed across state lines. I wonder if they're trying.
These buy it online.
Unregulated. They're not.
How do you know? How do you know
They're
that?
not regulated
You don't know
dispensaries. These are all illegal operations.
You don't know that.
No. Yeah. I do know that.
It doesn't specify that in the study.
So the thing is, yeah, okay. So just like New York City, people who aren't informed enough go to New York City and they walk down the street and they walk into a smoke shop and they're like, "Oh, I went to a dispensary today."
Sure.
So
yeah, I understand that.
The thing is, the uninformed or young consumer online is going on these online dispensaries and thinking that they're legal operations. And I don't think that a dispensary would go through all the trouble of getting a license to be in operation and be regulated, pay all the money that they got to pay to stay regulated in the legal space, and then ship weed over state lines and
hold on,
minors.
Nicole, this might not be a dispensary. This just might be a delivery license that is operating in this manner. It doesn't specify that it's a dispensary. And my
question is also, is this Delta 8 they're referring to?
It does not specify in anywhere in the article in regards to that, and I don't think it's Delta 8. I think this actually is actually weed. I was going to think maybe possibly they could be talking about THCA, but I'm willing to bet that they did a study of all these different online delivery things, and then they went and did studies to buy or cases to buy whatever, and we're successful in some and we're unsuccessful in others, because I do know Weed Maps was under a big thing for a while with the state of California in regards, because there were a number of minors that were able to purchase cannabis legally off of their website through actual deliveries and dispensaries, because there weren't the proper protocols in place of enforcement. And so therefore there were a lot of kids that were using their parents' accounts, so then that way they could purchase the cannabis with their parents' account on their parents' credit card, and they'd just get it delivered to their door.
Guess it's time to talk about parenting skills then, right?
I mean, that's where I think it ultimately falls on.
A friend of mine in Florida
said that it was you.
What's that, Nicole?
Sorry.
What's that, Nicole?
No, go ahead, Nicole.
The article said something about using prepaid cards to hide their transactions is what they found out that they were doing, right?
Well,
kids being smart.
Yeah, that's kids being smart. Yeah, I mean, right. I use a prepaid card all the time for different transactions. I mean, I haven't had a credit card in years. I always use prepaid cards.
It's not just kids that are getting stuff online. A friend of mine in Florida called me yesterday and said her stepfather was needed some weed, and he doesn't have his medical card in Florida, so he just went online, ordered some from Oklahoma. It was nothing. You know?
See what I'm saying? And you're trying to say that these are all licensed businesses. I think they may be.
Well,
I think it's way too risky for the license.
Well, I mean, we covered a story where there was a guy that had a dispensary in Vermont, and he was selling to people in New York, and he didn't even face any repercussions from the state.
All right, people. I did, my usual actual research.
Amazing. That's what we love, Gretchen.
It takes 5 seconds, Jason Beck, to actually look at the report.
Mm-hmm.
94% of the product that they're looking at were edibles.
Look at that.
94%.
All gummies, huh?
Yeah, they're easier to hide. In your lunchbox.
And then they're also looking at e-cigarettes. So, I guess vape product? Unclear.
Mm-hmm.
And it says medical formulations.
Medical formulations, that would probably be concentrates, or it could be vape carts also. Or maybe a tincture. But I don't think kids are...
They went through 80 online marijuana dispensaries based in 32 states.
Mm-hmm. See? Look at that. And it doesn't state whether or not they're permitted or licensed.
They don't fucking know if these people are illegal.
Of course they don't.
Guys, are we really debating this? We know what they're selling. We know the shit they're selling. Selling gas station CBD and THC products.
I don't believe this. I believe that these
California operations.
Yeah, I believe that these are all selling real weed. I'm not buying that it's Delta 8. I'm not buying that for a second.
It's gonna be Delta 9 converted from CBD. This is what it is. This is the majority of the market. Did you not listen? Did you not hear about that? Didn't we cover this Missouri operator that got shut down?
We covered yes.
Delta 8 products in their cannabis products. It's because they bought Delta 8 oil from
California, New York.
They bought that red disty, huh, Saman?
They bought that candy red disty.
Yeah, that candy. That's man.
It really pays to know your shit, people.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know.
Yeah, see, look in
the chat.
Even in the chat,
look in the YouTube chat.
Yeah. Christine Scaffalini says, "Good morning. We just bought weed online last night." See,
right.
Ask a question, Jason Beck. Was this actual weed?
Or yeah. Christine,
throw
in the chat. Throw in the chat. Let us know if it was actual weed, if it was THCA, Delta 8. What was the product, and whether or not you are aware if it was a licensed dispensary or not. We would love to know that.
She's correcting her last name, Sclafani.
Oh, Sclafani. Sorry. I thought I really
no actual information in the report about if.
Oh, she bought
THC.
Yeah, she bought some Delta 8 products. This is not real THC. Yes.
I mean, if it's oil, if it's in a formulation, I think it's without a doubt probably converted, oil. If it's flour, I mean, it could go either way. I guess there's a lot.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Saman. How the researchers did this is they went onto Google and their search terms were buy marijuana online, buy weed online, order weed, buy pot online, keef online, and ganja online. That's
they
what
bought
these guys
keef.
put in.
Who still sells keef?
I'm just saying, those are the search.
Who
items
still
that
buys
the
keef?
researchers put in to find these
keyword commando.
For the fact.
I have not seen keef sold in years.
Based on Google searches, is that
they did a Google search? Look, that's how they found the dispensaries. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was ambiguity, being unable to continue in the checkout process. This is some bullshit study.
I think you're right, Gretchen. I think you're right. But I think it does definitely make it easier for kids to procure.
I love how there's a footnote explaining what a selfie is in this.
Oh, there's a footnote about selfies, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
What is a selfie?
Yeah.
According to them, is a facial photograph of oneself, typically with a cell phone.
Man. Well, Christine, I'm sorry that you're having to smoke that hemp flower. Oh man, it must be rough. Must be rough. I'm sorry about that.
Hear ya.
Yeah, man. Oh man. What do you guys think that this is easier for kids to procure if they're purchasing online?
Options were cash. It says.
If it's online, it's easier for kids, right? Kids
that's
living
what I think
online.
too.
Their whole life is there, and once one kid knows about it, they all know about it, right? So,
yep.
I think just as easy as it is for them to walk to a bodega city and buy it, as easy.
What's that, Nicole?
It's just as easy as it is for them to walk into a bodega in New York City and buy it.
Yeah, but that
There
you
are
have to. It's not as
illegal
easy for kids to get to New York unless they live there, though, Nicole.
Well, there's lots of kids in New York.
Understood.
Okay. All right.
Exactly.
All right. What were you saying, Gretchen?
I put the report into the chat for Adam to post to the website if anyone wants to look at the actual report.
Oh, the actual
It's only
report.
3 pages, so it ain't that much.
So you're saying that stoners have the attention span to be able to digest it?
I'm saying that this is such a piss poor research project that it was only 3 pages. So
You know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like the research project of how they banned straws. Another piss poor research
the poor little
project.
turtle?
Yeah.
I mean, this is all coming from like a research letter. It's barely a report.
I don't know. All right. We're going to go to a commercial.
These
We're going to
people
be
stink.
right back.
That's my assessment.
They stink. Is it like weed or they stink like poo?
Poo. We're going with poo.
She's
Jag
going.
off poo.
She's going with Mr. Hankey's poo.
Relying on 25 years of commercial hydroponic experience, King Solomon Nutrients has engineered the best liquid and dry fertilizer products for cannabis that preserves the crop, the soil, and the environment. Through relentless passion, research, and innovation, King Solomon has developed simplified cannabis crop nutrition you can trust. It was created for farmers, by farmers. Don't mess around. Try the crown.
Oh yeah. You guys love dancing. So if you're dancing too in the crowd back at home, throw in the chat. Let Nicole and Saman know that you're dancing right along with them, please, during all these little commercial breaks. But coming up next, she's
Dancing with the Stoners. That's a whole new show.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Coming up next, she's the founder of Panoptic Strategies and our very own Washington insider who loves to bake not only bills, but also exorbitant snacks and rolls and cakes, all in her little tiny kitchen. That's right. It is none other than the Miss Gretchen Gailey.
My kitchen's not.
It's pretty tiny.
tiny.
It's pretty tiny, Gretchen.
Well,
It's
it ain't
pretty
one
tiny.
of those crazy, lap of luxury ones you got going at Mar-a-Lago or California, wherever you waste all your time.
That's right. My
Which I
time's
know you
never
don't
wasted
cook
at
in, so
Mar-a-Lago.
I don't understand people with big old kitchens. who
No,
don't
I'm
use them.
domestic. I'm domestically challenged, Gretchen. I have a big kitchen so that
Shocker.
people can come over and cook in it.
We need to teach you how to cook, Jason.
Yeah, maybe.
That'll up your game with the women if you can cook.
Let me tell you something. My game is so up with these ladies, it's not even funny, girl.
You're just using Saman to say hello again.
Stop it! I do use Saman to get them to say hello again, but that's for my ladies that are over 50.
All right. Oh, this headline. I gotta love this headline. God Almighty, no one should be in prison over marijuana possession. Biden says at Congressional Black Caucus event. President Joe Biden is again touting his mass marijuana pardon from last year, referencing the act of clemency at a Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Awards ceremony. This is actually what came out of the man's mouth. I'm keeping my promise that no one should be in jail merely for the use or possession of marijuana. God Almighty. And those who are in jail, they're going to be released and the records are going to be expunged. What the fuck, Joe? I mean, that's the extent of the fucking story. Seriously? I can't believe this man is running around saying this shit to people. I mean, I'm without words. I can't go on.
He just wants to pander to Democratic voters, and they're all going to fall for the bait and just follow him everywhere they go. As soon as he falls off the cliff, they'll probably jump off right along with him.
Are you shitting me?
100%.
I think it's ridiculous.
I don't want to shatter anybody's worlds here, but
Yeah.
Biden's a joke. Biden's always been a joke when it comes to, legalizing cannabis. This is like the worst thing possible for cannabis is if we allow Biden to control and pass the torch to his cronies, because we know what direction this is going to go in, and it's not in the favor of cannabis business and entrepreneurs out there. It's in the favor of a few select hand-picked and handcrafted businesses in this country that are tied into the financial system already. So it's like they're going to take the easy route to do that. Biden's going to allow it. We need to fight for, our future rights, or else we're not going to have any. So Biden, trash. Just throw him in the garbage already.
So you guys, wait.
Someone
You guys
hold him
don't
to
want
account.
prisoners to be released? These
No,
he's not going to do any of that.
Pretending like he did.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying
he's not. He's saying that they should, and he should.
Todd, he put him there.
Todd, he put him there, bro. He's the author of the 3 strikes law.
He's a joke.
Okay.
You can't be serious right now.
So when the president shows up at your event during Congressional Black Caucus, you're going to have to pull some of the headlines out of whatever sleepy speech he gave at this Congressional Black Caucus event.
You said
you're going to have to pull out something that shines and sparkles, and so this is what they stuck with.
Oh, I get it. Since it's Joe Biden and it's Sleepy Joe, then it must have been just a dream speech, right, Nicole? Because we all know that he ain't doing none of this.
That's Martin Luther King, Jason Beck. That's not even a good comparison.
Okay,
what I'm saying is,
whatever.
What I'm saying is that Joe Biden, again, the CBC, he might have showed up at one event that last week. And so they are going to make sure to try to pull the most sparkly things that they can out of whatever he said on that podium that night. And this is what they found. This is what they pulled.
They're trying to pull.
But this isn't sparkly. This
is
hypocrisy
it is.
Every length of. And my favorite is this good old White House press secretary saying,
yeah,
he's always supported the legalization of marijuana.
We all know that's total BS. She's the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, she's so bad. She's so bad.
What the fuck?
Kim Jean-Pierre.
One stinking reporter to hold them to account and be like, this is his fucking record. Are you kidding me? And when is he magically releasing all these people still sitting in jail? We would love to know, Joe. When
that's
the
question to be
asked. I know somebody that's on the show weekly that can list off a whole long list of names that people that deserve to be out of federal prison for cannabis. So it's like there's no shortage of information out there or groups that could be supported, but we know what it is. It's trash. It's bureaucracy. It's never going to change. It's sad.
As we get closer and closer to the election, more and more shit will happen.
Those people are sitting in prison right now. Those people are sitting in prison right now watching all of this happening.
Well, they're probably not watching it all happening.
Decade. Oh, they're probably on their cell phones. We know how it is. We know how it is. But what I'm saying is those for the last decade plus, those guys for 15 years plus, those guys have had to sit there and watch what's happening, and it's disgusting. We need to right the wrongs. We need to turn the corner, and we need to start taking care of all of this stuff.
Yeah.
You mean those were the people that he let out of prison a couple of months ago or whatever when he had his sweeping
no one absolutely not one single person was released from prison when he did that, Nicole. Not one single person.
I think Kim Kardashian got more people out of prison than Biden.
She has. That is true.
I am going to put my money where my mouth is.
Oh boy.
And I'm going to write a letter. Because you know what the White House loves to do.
With a pen?
Oh, well, no, they won't be able to read my cursive, Denkin, so I can't send that.
You're a sloppy writer?
When you send a letter to the right office at the White House, they love to send a response. So I want to see what these fuckers are going to say, and I'm going to write a letter.
Yeah,
let's do this.
Hold on.
Let's do that.
I'm down. I'm down, Gretchen. If you write a letter, I'll send it too.
I want to co-sign it, or should we just send multiple letters with the same thing?
Yeah,
we could send multiple. We'll see.
Let's get all of our
fans. You invite the president to like your wedding, and they'll send you back a regret. Oh, good luck on your wedding, but we're so happy you invited us. They send responses. There's somebody sitting there waiting to respond to this shit. So that's what we're doing.
How many of our audience members would like to join up? If you could please raise your hand or send something in the chat that expresses your willingness to participate in this letter writing activity. Let's do that.
Gretchen.
What the fuck, Joe?
Yeah, exactly.
That's my hashtag. It's gonna be WTF, Joe.
Mm-hmm. And to quote
this annoyed the hell out of me.
To quote Kamala Harris, "We didn't do it, Joe. We didn't do it." Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
I'm exasperated.
This administration is so painful to watch every day. Oh man, I feel so bad for everybody that has to endure Joe Biden. But nonetheless, we're going to keep
Miss
it
the orange
moving.
clown.
I do. I can't wait till he's back. I so can't wait till he's back. So excited for mean tweets again.
Please, God, don't ever let him.
Oh, it's coming, Nicole. It's coming. I cannot wait. 2024 is going to be an amazing year.
It's gonna be a frosty day in hell, Nicole.
Yeah.
A frosty day.
Who dat?
Are you telling me that he's going to go get his
I hope that
tips
there are
frosted?
enough sane U.S. citizens.
What's that, Nicole?
I hope that there are enough sane U.S. citizens. I said, I hope that
that's
there are enough
debatable.
sane U.S. citizens to not elect a criminal, an indicted
A criminal? Stop
into
it.
the White House.
Joe Biden is a criminal. Stop it.
He
Stop
hasn't
No,
been
you are,
the
but what am I?
ridiculousness. Stop the
I know you are, but
ridiculousness.
what am I?
I've seen the bank
No, you are,
records.
but what am I?
I've seen the
That's
bank
great
records.
move,
Yeah. What am I?
Gramps.
Yeah,
Great move.
And just so
Grandpa.
you know,
That
Nicole,
is-
you could indict a ham sandwich, and no one from the cannabis space should be protesting criminalism since we're all criminals still, technically. Just saying.
Speak for yourself.
He's a
I'm not
documented criminal who has ripped off
Okay, sir,
other people, who has ripped
do
off.
not partake in the sale of cannabis. So technically,
You
not a criminal.
you possess and consume a Schedule 1 substance, which makes you a criminal.
and my non-criminal ass or my criminal ass is not running for president of the United States.
No, you don't have to run for president of the United States.
He's running.
He's
so
still
he
doing
can
the
stay
same
out of
thing.
prison.
I'm just saying,
Running, so
hypocrisy
he
is
won't go to jail.
hypocrisy. That's all that I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Okay.
One
Let's
crime
move on
is,
to the next one.
whether it's jaywalking or murder, it's all crime. Just saying.
Okay.
Keep it moving.
Nonetheless, we're gonna keep this train rolling. Coming up next, Mr. Saman Razani. He is the man who loves to tell women and show women how being over 50, how they can say hello again. That's right. He's a plant formulation expert and a cannabis facility designer. That's right. It is the man, Mr. Saman Razani.
Thank you. Thank you. Cannabis freedom fighters out there, stand up. All right. Listen, we got some big issues. Okay. We got some big issues with our laws in this country in general, but cannabis laws and rules and regulations, boy, this is a sad day. Todd, this one's for you today. I have a story out of Oregon. OPB News. Oregon cannabis products recalled over aspergillus contamination will soon be sold.
I know.
Let's unpack this, people. Oregon cannabis products recalled over pathogenic mold will soon be approved for sale. Last month, a court suspended state restrictions on 4 strains of the fungus aspergillus in marijuana. The cannabis industry had argued that the mold was too common to avoid. The decision left over 2,000 pounds and 60,000 pre-rolls of recalled cannabis in limbo as the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Control Commission awaited further guidance from Oregon Health Authority. On September 20th, the OLCC announced it would begin clearing those recalled products for sale. OLCC is working to coordinate the release of any such items that have been on hold in the state's cannabis tracking system, the agency wrote in a press release. Mike Getland, the board chair of the Cannabis Industry Alliance of Oregon, celebrated the news but said the wait had been frustrating. This should have been done within a matter of days, if not, frankly, hours of the judge's ruling, Getland said. There are potentially businesses failing, even though the court has ordered that this impediment be lifted. The suspension of the state's restriction will expire in February, giving the Oregon Court of Appeals time to review arguments. Aspergillus spores can cause fungal infections in the immunocompromised, but no cases in Oregon have been linked to cannabis yet. And that's the story from OBP News, or OPB News, I'm sorry. And let's hear what our friends and family out there have to say about this. Todd, I want to start with you, man. What do you think about it?
I think it's, look, run a testing lab, and we test for aspergillus, 4 different species of aspergillus, which are pretty bad for you. If you are immune compromised, if you have any kind of lung issues, it can be very, very dangerous. I would love not to test for it, right? Because it's expensive, right? It's a pain in the ass, and we do have to fail people for it. We do a different kind of aspergillus analysis too. Is we do what's called free DNA removal. So we remove all of the dead aspergillus DNA, which a lot of other labs don't do. we remove the dead DNA and only test for presence of live DNA, which means you have live organisms, in your cannabis, which is bad because it sits in the bag. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And that's just what happens. But the cultivators to lobby together and say, we're failing too much, rather than clean their facility, they want to change the law because it's really just all about cleanliness.
But what is this nonsense about having a rule and setting a rule and then just saying, hey, we're just gonna let it happen? I mean, it's like,
that's why they lobbied, right? All that shit was sitting in a storage somewhere. They say, what are we gonna do with all that weed?
You know what this sounds like to
Todd,
me?
what's this argument that it's just too common to avoid? You think that's bullshit?
Well, it is common because it feeds on dead leaves. Right? So you ever see dead leaves in a cultivation? It's really all about cleanliness. And I have lots of clients that pass every single time, every time. I have lots of other clients that fail 15% of the time, 5% of the time, 20% of the time. We go out to the facilities and we swab and we find the location where this problem is happening, and they usually fix it. But it is everywhere. Aspergillus is everywhere, and it is difficult to contain, but it's doable with cleanliness. So we test Aspergillus. We test the DNA, right? We extract the DNA of the microorganism, and that's what we test. And the only thing that kills that DNA would be bleach. So if you're not cleaning your facility with bleach, you definitely have Aspergillus in your facility.
So, I mean, this just sounds to me like Oregon is taking a page out of New York's testing playbook, as we covered earlier last week in regards to them having such dirty weed, and Maine has some really dirty weed too. And I think this is just going to be par for the course, and people are just going to have to accept that they're going to be smoking dirty weed when they go to retails.
That's true. I just went to a meeting last week with the CCB here in Nevada, is talking about removing Aspergillus from testing protocols because cultivators complain. The national average is about 20%. Right. And I was in a room full of, laboratory guys. And, like I said, what I said to you, I'd like to not test for it. It's just not very safe.
Well, and here's the thing. This is what we talk about a lot. It's just like this butting up against, the bureaucracy of cannabis and the cannabis industry itself. And it's like, look, there's a point here where, the industry, the people that have invested, the people that are following the rules, have kind of like, I feel have a right to have a say in that discussion. But it's also like, we don't want to, provide a contaminated product to people, especially with cannabis. I mean, we're still smoking a lot of flower, a lot of pre-rolls out there. Those are, by and large, most of the markets in most of these states. And then, with the processing and the manufacturing of products, we can mediate or remediate that mold. But it still comes down to where do we have this discussion at a larger kind of point in time where the labs and the industry operators can come to a conclusion on what to do.
My concern is that there's a bunch of, for better or worse, men sitting in a room making decisions about how healthy the plant should be and the medicine that should be given to the consumer should be. Like the fact that those kind of decisions are being made without consumer input or without the public knowledge is quite terrifying, because obviously if those conversations are happening in Nevada, then they're happening in other places. And thank God, Todd, somebody like you is in the room and is telling these regulators and decision makers, like, you can't let these MSOs or these bad operators give you grief for implementing safe protocols when all you got to do to avoid Aspergillus is just be clean. Like it should be a part of the state's SOPs of how to maintain a clean facility, and you avoid having to test for this because you don't have it anymore. And it's just a terrifying thought to think, as a consumer, as a patient, like, okay, there is somebody actually sitting behind a closed door making those decisions on whether or not I should have clean weed and clean medicine. And that's just a scary thought.
What do you have to say? What do you have to say about food, though, Nicole?
Science. They're basing it on economics.
What do you have to say about food, though?
Right.
Because food is way less tested than our weed is. Our weed is far, far, far greater tested for impurities than our food.
Our food.
Yeah, but every
Right.
American consumes food 3 times a day, as opposed to a percentage of people that consume cannabis.
Right. Everyone's sick,
and that's why, exactly. Everybody's following the standard American diet, and they're dying on the inside.
Right.
And so that's why I buy my food at farmers markets. I support these small farmers. They don't have to go through those stringent testings to get all their mass produced products into a grocery store. And I respect that they are small craft growers that give a lot more time and energy and respect to the food that they're growing for the consumer. And so that's my own little part that I can do, is not buy at big box as much as I can and support these small farmers. And I do the same with my weed.
Oh,
Quick
boy.
question. On the science side, is there any safe, acceptable level of this stuff?
Not when you're smoking.
Well, that's really a good question, because that's what I talked about with the regulators the other day. Is that, why don't we develop a acceptable amount of Aspergillus, just like there's an acceptable amount of yeast and mold, right?
Sure.
There's an acceptable amount of other things. Problem is, it takes research and studies, and then all of that stuff, which nobody wants to pay for, right?
Yeah, and who's going to guinea pig now? Is it a mouse study? I mean, it's not.
That's what I'm saying. It takes a really long time to get through all of that stuff, and nobody has the money and nobody has the patience. It should be done, and there should be some sort of testing to do that. Presence of
the state should be funding,
especially in most labs who are not removing the dead DNA, are also testing dead DNA and finding that it does exist, because Aspergillus is everywhere. It's everywhere, and unless you're using bleach, the DNA is everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So,
Aspergillosis is the disease it gives you, right? Which it's an infection in your lungs. And anybody who is, immune compromised or has any kind of respiratory issues, it's deadly.
So you're saying all cannabis people should take a page out of Hillary Clinton's playbook and bleach everything?
No, that's Donald's playbook of injecting the bleach.
Oh, geez, stop the
right.
ridiculousness. We're going to go to a commercial.
So you can inject the bleach right into and see what happens?
Oh,
is that what
God,
we're going to do?
Stop it.
Maybe we can zap inside our bodies with light.
I
hear UV ray.
I
hear
follow
good
the UV light bulb. I'm
the
here.
HHS chick hiding under her chair when he's asking, that's right? And she's like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Right. I hear good things are happening. I hear good things.
We got to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Oh, yeah. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button if you could. I know we'd appreciate it, and YouTube appreciates it. Also, you can check out all the stories on our website, www.highat9news.com. And make sure you tell a friend. You have another commercial, Adam? Yeah.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
Oh, yeah. Coming up next, she's the voice on Power 88 in Las Vegas, Nevada, every Wednesday morning, right? Oh, yes. That's right. She's out there from Las Vegas, but she happens to be in the great, great state of Illinois with an S. That's right. That's right. She's also part of Minorities for Medical Marijuana, M4MM, and coming here to grace the stage is none other than the Nicole Buffong.
Well, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Jason, and greetings to everyone out there listening to our show. We appreciate you being here. So today my story comes out of, guess what? Illinois. Palestine, Illinois. Did not know that that existed before today. Two businessmen from Robinson, Illinois, are in the works to bring a cannabis dispensary to the village of Palestine in hopes of giving back to a community they say could benefit from the economic impact. I looked it up. Palestine is about 20 or so miles away from the Indiana state line. Not too many dispensaries over there, but it looks like that would be a lucrative business because of Indiana's status when it comes to cannabis. The reason we're doing this, he said, is to save this community. They need something to boost their economy and get them going, and we feel like this is something that's going to do that. About 3 years ago, the village of Palestine's mayor, Rob Burley, said they struck down the idea of a dispensary. This summer, that changed when the mayor broke a tie vote on the approval of allowing a dispensary in the community. He says it's quite a controversial subject, I got to admit, and I was on each side of the fence. He said the mayor said he was back and forth on the issue, but ultimately went for what he said the majority wanted. He said several residents and business owners reached out to him, and he said for every one that was against the idea, he heard from 10 that were for it. We got to remember we work for the people, said the mayor. Wish all mayors thought like that. Palestine, like a lot of small villages, is struggling to survive. We're just trying to take a step in the right direction. And he believes the revenue from the dispensary could do just that. On the recreational, I believe we get 3%. Then on the medical, they don't have to give anything, but they've agreed to give 1%. As for progress, Erickson said that the lot is purchased and demolition is complete. The property is located on the corner of Porter and North Washington, so off of Route 33. So if you are in Illinois, then you should drive by this empty lot. But it seems like there's not many businesses in this little town. The mayor said there's several things that still have to fall into place before this is a done deal. We're just at the waiting game. You now see if they get their license, then we will proceed with our license. The next step is they will continue to work on their plans, making their plans into reality. We're sort of waiting on builders now that are backed up from the tornado that hit Crawford County. A lot of the builders are tied up, and we want to use local if we can. If again, I think that this is going to be good for this small town in Illinois. Just like progress moving forward, they are looking at trying to create more jobs and more revenue for this small town and for the state. And so I love to hear, I'm sure the people of Palestine in Israel aren't too happy about this making news and their name coming up. But I think it's a good thing for this small town. I'd love to hear what my correspondents think about this story.
It's always good. Encourage cannabis businesses in any city.
I mean, hold on. So you said Palestine in Illinois is a village.
I googled it. Population
Yes,
1,200.
1,200. Okay, so what is the size cap then for a village? Because I thought it was 1,000 people.
That's really the issue you're gonna die on a hill with here. What
I'm
point to this?
I'm just inquiring. I'm just wondering. I have questions. I know you know this kind of stuff.
We'll continue
Gretchen.
on. Let's pretend that it is the cap. What's the issue?
I'm just asking. I'm just trying to figure out like you're gonna have one store in this little town of 1,200 people. It'll probably service the whole community. There's not going to be a lot of room for any other type of business out there. And are they making this
Dollar General store?
Dollar General store does a lot of money. Is that dollar everything? That's not a lot of revenue.
I think that they're going to get a lot of revenue from overstate lines, from people coming in from Indiana, because it's right there on the border.
Oh, is that right?
I also think that they're going to be servicing, yes, not far from the Indiana border. And I also think that they're going to be servicing other small towns that are in that area that are nowhere close to the city, nowhere close to Chicago. And they're going to need somewhere to go as well. So you got to think about where is the closest dispensary to that.
Okay, so let's just say there's 3 other cities and they're all about the same size. So now at that point you have 4,800 people plus whatever people are going to come in from Indiana. And it's not like there's a lot of people that live in Indiana either. So let's just say their market cap is 20,000 people that they're going to service. How much do you think they're really going to do?
I think any added business to the town would be a good thing, Jason Beck. Why are you pissing all over these people's hopes and dreams?
I'm not. I'm just being
Right.
I'm just offering a bit of truth and reality in the world.
Yeah, because
Oh, I
that's
mean,
what you love.
servicing 20,000 people is still a good little audience.
Yeah, these people are getting medicine, like they're getting provided medicine, and people are getting jobs. It might not be
Is this going to
40
be
jobs.
is this just a standard retail store, or is this going to be a vertically operated business?
They're gonna have to be selling. It didn't say in the article though. But
Okay, so
I
I'm
would
willing to bet-
imagine that they are.
It's all about
I'm willing to
access.
bet. I'm willing to bet that they're
Access.
only a dispensary, standalone dispensary by itself. I'd be willing to put money on that.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
nothing wrong with that.
Well, we
No, there's not.
we'll
There's
keep our
not.
eye on
There's not. But there. But
see how
but
it shakes out.
but having a standalone dispensary by itself is the most expensive portion of the supply chain to be in under 280E. And so, therefore, with very, very low revenues that they're going to have, because they're not going to have a wide client base, I imagine. It's just, I don't see how this store is going to be real amazing like that as far as turning revenue. It may make a little
It's
bit
gonna
of
be
money and a
real
little bit of
amazing for
profit.
people in Palestine.
It's going to be a little
It's going to
quaint,
be
quaint
amazing
little
for
weed
people
store.
who now have access to weed and weed products.
I'm all for that. I'm all for that. I'm not trying to poo-poo on
Well,
that.
and it's only about 40 minutes from good old Terre Haute, Indiana, which has a much larger population.
What's the population in Terre Haute?
Terre Haute,
Terre Haute.
I mean, it's not ginormous. It's 60,000.
Oh, 60,000.
I mean,
All right.
when there is no legal cannabis in Indiana, this cute little town is a lot closer to them than Chicago.
Fair enough.
So
Yeah.
Fair
don't
enough.
be hating, Jason.
I'm not hating.
Let
I'm just
the
being real.
Midwest, the true
The mids-
Midwest,
the
get
Midwest,
access to cannabis.
Like Pennsylvania.
That's right.
Legalize
He's
it
not from the
then.
Midwest.
Legalize it.
Midwest. Oh,
Hey
man.
guys, I gotta bounce. Love
All right,
y'all.
Saman.
Happy Tuesday.
safe-
Much respect.
Have a safe flight, Saman. Have a safe flight. He's got to.
Saman.
Yeah,
Safe.
he's got to hop on a plane. And with that, we are going to keep it rolling right on in to Mr. Todd Denkin. He's the founder of DigiPath Labs, the founder of the Smuggleberth, which is an online place where you can purchase all of your cannabis NFTs, please. That's right. And the voice himself is Mr. Todd Denkin.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday. My story is about banking yet again. Over 800 banks filed to allow cannabis businesses, according to a FinCEN report. Banking institutions are in a race to allow cannabis businesses ahead of the imminent changes in the way cannabis is classified at the federal level, according to federal data. Cannabis remains prohibited at the federal level, but the U.S. Health and Human Services Department recommendation to reclassify cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 will literally change everything. Normal reports that there's a spike in the number of banking institutions that are filing to work with cannabis businesses as the fear of repercussions subsides. According to quarterly data provided by the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, which is FinCEN, Bureau of the United States Department of Treasury, over 800 banks and credit unions have filed paperwork with the U.S. government acknowledging their relationships with licensed cannabis businesses. FinCEN reports that 812 banks and credit unions reported that they are actively working with cannabis companies during the second quarter of fiscal year 2023. It's a record high since FinCEN first started tracking these numbers. It represents a significant rise from last year's numbers when they identified 553 banks, 11% of the U.S. banks, 202 credit unions. FinCEN said they issued guidance to clarify Bank Secrecy Act, known as the BSA, expectations for financial institutions seeking to provide medical or seeking to provide services to marijuana-related businesses, or MRBs. The report, which is available for download, reads, and I quote, FinCEN guidance clarified how financial institutions can provide services to marijuana-related businesses consistent with their BSA obligations and aligns the information provided by financial institutions, BSA reports, federal and state law enforcement priorities. Since 2014 guidance specifies 3 phases for describing a financial institution's relationship to marijuana-related businesses. One is called the Marijuana Limited, which means the financial institution provides financial services to an MRB that the financial institution reasonably believes, based on its customer due diligence, does not implicate one of the Cole Memo priorities or violate state law. Number 2 is marijuana priority. It means the financial institution provides financial services to an MRB that the financial institution reasonably believes, based on its customer due diligence, implicates one of the Cole Memo priorities or violates state law. And number 3 is marijuana termination. Means the financial institution deems it necessary to terminate a relationship with an MRB in order to maintain an effective anti-money laundering compliance program. Normal leaders discussed the topic with The Hill last May and said, no industry can operate safely, transparently, or effectively without access to banks or other financial institutions. It is self-evident that the players in the industry, especially smaller and minority-owned businesses, and those consumers that are served by it, will remain severely hampered without better access to credit and financing, according to Deputy Director Paul Armentano of Normal. According to a survey compiled last year by Whitney Economics, over 70% of cannabis businesses that were asked said the lack of access to banking or investment capital is their top challenge. FinCEN began providing guidance to the cannabis businesses in 2014 with the goal to help banking institutions operate while cannabis remains illegal at the federal level. Yahoo News reported earlier this month that the HHS recommendation to reclassify cannabis from a Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 drug could transform the cannabis industry and create new opportunities for banking institutions. Scheduling cannabis to Schedule 3 may allow dispensaries to accept credit card payments. Richard Laderman, former head of global treasury for Visa and co-founder and chair of Standard C, said, card payments may supplant cash transactions if this occurs, reducing the risks and costs associated with cash-only operations. Cannabis banking expert Robert Barron said, while changes will inevitably occur, financial institutions looking to serve this market segment must implement risk management tools to evaluate and monitor cannabis businesses. This is where Standard C's business underwriting and monitoring tools are perfectly suited to meet their Bank Secrecy Act and customer due diligence obligations. HHS recommendation to reclassify cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 will be a pivotal step, first of its kind at the federal level, to make the cannabis industry safer for everyone. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News. Do we think safe banking is around the corner?
Todd,
Yes.
I feel like this is good news.
Oh,
I feel like this is good news. So my question is this with all these banks anticipating the passage of safe banking that they're filing all this paperwork?
Oh, that's right. They want to get in before any rules are made, but yes, they want to get in before the next guy.
Now question Gretchen, question for you, Gretchen. If safe banking doesn't get a vote and we have a government shutdown and it doesn't get the opportunity to get passed, would the fact that these banks are filing this paperwork would that enable them to be able to work with cannabis businesses going forward without safe banking?
One more time. What?
So the paperwork that they filed, would that enable them to start working with cannabis companies? Because there's a number of different banks that work with different cannabis companies and just take the risk and charge charges. So would this put them in that category?
For these guys going forward, and what they were suggesting in this article was based more on the possibility of Schedule 3. I don't think it has to do with safe, because currently people can absolutely bank with banks. There are many FinCEN guidelines on how to do it. As for the government shutdown, that's still yet to be seen. The markup for SAFE is still happening tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not a new Congress anytime soon.
That's true.
Plenty of time to do a vote on SAFE if these jackasses, your besties, close down this joint.
I hope they do.
At the end of the week.
I hope they close it down.
If they do close it down, it ain't going to stay closed. There's plenty of time to vote.
I know that. That's true.
Another thing that I learned last week during the Congressional Black Caucus, while my colleagues were lobbying on Capitol Hill, is that the letter from HHS never mentions Schedule 3. it just mentions rescheduling, and they're allowing the DEA to actually decide what that scheduling will look like. So that's something that I learned that I didn't realize after that information. The press, the media are the ones that are taking on
Spinning
this
the
scheduling three,
Schedule 3.
rescheduling it. Yeah, so that's not what the HHS letter said. And how about this fun fact? We've never seen the HHS letter, so we don't know what it says.
Actually,
we're just getting.
we covered a story, Nicole, while you were gone, on the fact that there never was an HHS letter and that she misspoke during her testimony, so to say.
Jason, that's a different letter.
That's a different letter?
True.
That's a different letter.
Oh,
She's
excuse me.
suggesting in that story that President Biden did not send her a letter to start the investigation.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
what that's about.
Yeah, that was that story. I remember that story.
Okay.
So yeah, it was she apologized for misspeaking that the president sent the letter, not HHS. HHS did send the letter.
Okay.
Also
We just
known as
haven't
perjury, but in Washington speak, it's I misspoke.
Yeah.
Letter came out August 29th, and it's quoted, the Secretary of Health and Human Services and Attorney General to initiate the administrative process to review expeditiously how marijuana is scheduled under federal law.
Right. Does not mention scheduling, like moving it from a Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. It just mentions rescheduling. So so we can guess all day where they might put it. I love Gigi's recommendation to make it to take it off the scheduling, but make it like a nutraceutical. And
I support that.
That's
You too.
right. Yeah. So I just another fun fact that I learned while on the Hill this last week during Congressional Black Caucus, and some of the things that my colleagues and I were able to get a better understanding of as we await the DEA's decision.
Sounded really cool when you said what I learned on the Hill.
I just hope that bill goes through. That will block the DEA and the HHS from being able to do any of this and put it back in the hands of Congress. But nonetheless,
No chance in hell.
I know. I can hope. I can wishfully hope. You know.
Just like those people in Palestine are wishing for a new economy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree with
There's
you
only
on that one.
20,000
They definitely
people.
are wishing for a new economy, Gretchen. That is for sure. And I
That's
definitely
all
is
of
not going to be
America.
that little shop. That's for sure. But I
Should move to an economy if they want to be in an economy.
I have
What, are y'all freaking out?
I have one more story. I know why your
Here.
dogs are freaking out, Gretchen.
They're freaking out because they think you're going to keep talking.
No, they're
No.
I know
No,
why they're
yeah.
freaking out. They're freaking out because they
3
know
minutes, Jason.
they
Beck.
know
If you can
about-
get this done in 3 minutes.
I got you. They know about my next story. Adam, are you ready with the video? All right,
This
'cause
better
you
be
you
good.
guys are gonna love this. Gretchen, this story is just for you.
I
Sheep
can't wait.
wander into a greenhouse and eat 600 pounds of marijuana plants. That's right. A flock of sheep found their way into a greenhouse in Greece and ate more than 600 pounds of marijuana plants being cultivated for medical use. Giannis Brohanis, owner of the greenhouse in Magnesia, said his crop had already been damaged by heat and recent floods when a flock of sheep managed to enter the greenhouse and feast on the remaining cannabis plants. He estimated that the sheep munched their way through more than 600 pounds of plants, and Baronis told the newspaper that the sheep were, in quotes, jumping higher than goats after eating all their ill-gotten greenery. Greece legalized medical cannabis back in 2017, and the country opened its first cannabis production plant earlier this year. And Adam, I think we got the video, Adam? Oh, man. Here we go. So he's basically telling them, he's like, man, these sheep, they just came in and ate everything. They gobbled it all up. They were so high. And now he believes that he can get a much higher premium for these sheep.
Can't get high from eating weed.
No, well, hold on though. But I think their wool will be worth more because it will be hemp infused wool, and so therefore it could definitely demand a higher price on the market space.
That's the marketing twist.
I'm serious. Yeah, these goats ate all this guy's weed plants.
Higher than
They're
goats.
sheep.
They're sheep. Whatever. Sheep, goats.
There's a difference.
Το ξέρω πολύ καλά.
There's a lot of tremendous nutritional value in eating marijuana leaves and marijuana flower. It's not going to get you high, though.
Yeah. Well, so I found that story extremely entertaining, with all these sheep just grazing on this guy's weed.
They
think he
broke
made
into
up.
his greenhouse.
Yep, they broke into his greenhouse and ate 600 pounds of weed.
Smart sheep.
I mean, what do you think, Gretchen? I think your dogs.
That's adorable.
I think your dogs really like that story.
Salem, what do you think? Did you like that story?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Salem loved it. See the tail wagging? Yep, I see it. The tail is wagging.
She
Yeah,
doesn't love you people.
she loves me.
Sweater.
Like, I'm out of here. Jason
Yeah,
Beck's
right.
talking so long.
Salem loves me.
Salem's saying, wrap it up,
Yeah,
Jason.
right.
I need to walk.
Mm-hmm. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank you to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and watching the insanity that is the ever-changing, developing cannabis industry. Thank you to our correspondents for being truly amazing. And thank you all for spending your time with us this morning. We know you could be anywhere else, and tuning in to America's #1 daily cannabis news show.